Before Stalin became a god, he was just another name among the Bolsheviks. And among them stood Lev Kamenev. Calm, intelligent, respected. Born as Lev Rosenfeld, Kamenev was not a soldier like Stalin. He was a thinker, a man who believed the revolution could be built with reason, not terror. When Lenin led the Bolsheviks to power in 1917, Kamenev was already by his side. He spoke for Lenin, debated for him, and helped shape the new government. And Stalin? He was still in the shadows. A man of paperwork, a man who listened more than he spoke. Kamenev didn't fear him. No one did. He saw Stalin as a loyal functionary, useful, disciplined, the kind of man who followed orders, not gave them. When Lenin fell ill in 1922, a new position was created, General Secretary of the Communist Party, a job that seemed administrative, routine, unimportant. Kamenev supported Stalin for the post. He thought, who better to handle paperwork? But history was being written between the lines of those papers. According to historian Robert Conquest, that desk job gave Stalin control over who entered the party and who disappeared from it. Every appointment, every replacement, every silent dismissal passed through his hands. And Kamenev, he never saw it coming. By 1924, Lenin was dying. He saw what Stalin was becoming: cold, manipulative, ruthless. In his final letter, Lenin warned the party. Remove Stalin from his position as General Secretary. Kamenev read the letter. He hesitated. He could have exposed Stalin then, ended his rise before it began. But he didn't. He believed Stalin could still be reasoned with. He believed loyalty could save him. He was wrong. January 1924. Lenin was dead. Russia mourned its leader. But Stalin was already planning his next move. At the funeral, Stalin stood at the coffin and called Lenin the guiding star of the revolution. He promised to carry on his work. The crowd believed him. Even Kamenev did. Trotsky, the true heir in Lenin's eyes, was missing. Tricked by Stalin's allies into thinking the funeral was scheduled for a later date. It was the first political ambush of many. Stalin now wore the image of Lenin's closest disciple. The nation saw him as the humble successor, the man of discipline and loyalty. But behind closed doors, he was moving with surgical precision. He began isolating Trotsky first, painting him as arrogant, dangerous, untrustworthy. Then came Kamenev and Zinoviev, Lenin's old companions who led the powerful Leningrad faction. They had supported Stalin once, but now, too late, they saw the danger. They tried to form a bloc against him. The United Opposition. According to historian Isaac Deutscher, it was a doomed alliance. Too late, too fractured. Stalin didn't attack them head-on. He didn't need to. He controlled the party apparatus, the votes, the meetings, the whispers. When Kamenev tried to speak, the microphones cut off. When he protested, his own colleagues turned their faces away. In 1927, at the 15th Party Congress, Stalin declared the opposition enemies of socialism. Trotsky was expelled. Kamenev and Zinoviev were stripped of power. The Revolution brothers were now the revolution's outcasts, but Stalin wasn't done. He didn't just want their silence. He wanted their names erased. Kamenev's portrait was removed from official photos. His speeches deleted from archives. His name vanished from history books. He was alive but already being buried. And still, he hoped Stalin would stop. That maybe old friendship would mean something. But in Stalin's world, mercy was a myth. By 1934, Stalin's grip on the Soviet Union was absolute. But he was still not satisfied. He had won power. Now he wanted fear. Lev Kamenev, once a founding father of the revolution, was living quietly in Moscow. He had lost everything: his post, his influence, his friends. But he was still alive. And in Stalin's Russia, being alive was a privilege that could vanish overnight. Then came a whisper. Stalin wanted reconciliation. He invited Kamenev and Zinoviev back into the party's orbit, told them the past was forgiven, told them the revolution needed unity. Kamenev hesitated, but he had a wife, sons, a home. He thought maybe, just maybe, Stalin meant it. According to historian Robert Conquest, Stalin's charm in these moments was disarming, almost hypnotic. He could look you in the eye, smile, and make you believe the lie you wanted to believe. Kamenev accepted the offer. He began to attend meetings again, speaking in favor of party unity, praising Stalin in public speeches. He thought he was rebuilding trust, but Stalin was rebuilding a case. In December 1934, Sergei Kirov, the popular Leningrad leader, was shot dead in his office. The assassination shocked the nation and gave Stalin his excuse. Within days, the NKVD began rounding up enemies of the state. The investigation spread like wildfire, and suddenly, Kamenev's name reappeared. He was accused of being part of a terrorist conspiracy. A plot, they said, to murder Stalin and seize power. Kamenev was arrested, his sons interrogated, his wife threatened. Under torture and fear, he confessed to crimes that never existed. He even begged Stalin for mercy. In letters, historians would later find, pleading not for his life, but for the safety of his children. By 1936, the stage was set. The first Moscow show trial began, and at its center stood Lev Kamenev, the man who had once called Stalin comrade. Stalin didn't just want Kamenev's death. He wanted his confession, his humiliation, his surrender before the entire world. And Kamenev would give him all of it. August 1936, Moscow. The courtroom was full, but justice was nowhere to be found. 15 of the Soviet Union's most respected revolutionaries stood in the dock. Among them, Lev Kamenev and Grigory Zinoviev, men who had once built the revolution itself. They weren't here for justice. They were here for a performance, a trial written, rehearsed, and directed by Joseph Stalin. The charges were absurd. Plotting to kill Stalin, conspiring with foreign agents, even trying to restore capitalism. No evidence was shown. No witnesses were real. But everyone in that room already knew the ending. Prosecutor Vyshinsky screamed, "Shoot the mad dogs!" The crowd applauded. The press took notes. The world watched and believed what it saw. Kamenev stood pale and broken. he confessed to everything. To crimes he never committed. To conspiracies he never joined. Why? Because his children were still alive. Because Stalin promised that if he confessed, his family would be spared. According to historian Simon Sebag Montefiore, Kamenev rehearsed his confession for days, reciting every word the NKVD demanded, his voice stripped of pride, his eyes hollow. When his turn came, he looked up and said quietly, "I am guilty of betraying the party and comrade Stalin." He wasn't guilty of that. He was guilty of believing Stalin was ever his friend. After 5 days, the verdict was read. All defendants guilty. Sentence, death. Kamenev bowed his head. He didn't fight. He didn't plead. He only asked one final thing, that his sons be spared. Stalin didn't keep that promise. They were executed years later without trial, without record. On August 25, 1936, Lev Kamenev, Lenin's comrade, Stalin's friend, and one of the architects of the revolution, was shot in a basement of Lubyanka prison. No burial, no grave, only a name erased from photographs and a silence that lasted decades. In Stalin's Russia, friendship was a crime and loyalty a death sentence. History remembers Stalin as a man of power. But power in his hands was not a gift. It was a weapon. Lev Kamenev was not just another victim. He was proof of what happens when a revolution eats its own. They had fought together, dreamed together, bled for the same cause. And yet, in the end, one stood over the grave of the other. Stalin once said, "Death solves all problems. No man, no problem." And in Kamenev's death, he proved it. The man who helped him rise was erased from history, his family destroyed, his name spoken only in whispers. According to historian Robert Conquest, Kamenev's trial marked the beginning of a new age of fear, an era where every comrade looked over his shoulder, where truth itself was rewritten by decree. In the end, Kamenev's real crime wasn't betrayal, it was trust. He trusted that the revolution he built would protect him. He trusted that Stalin was still a friend. But under dictatorships, trust is just another word for surrender. And so, Lev Kamenev, the friend, the revolutionary, the man who once shared Stalin's dream, became another name on his list. A friend sent to die by the man he helped create.